start selling before you think you should. Sell immediately. The second you have an idea and you have a potential customer, the main metric that matters in the beginning is the number of offers made.
Welcome to the High Voltage Business Builders Podcast, a show where we interview high voltage entrepreneurs growing and scaling through e-commerce, real estate, and other wealth without Wall Street ventures, showing you the path to making your first or next million. All right, folks, welcome back to the High Voltage Business Builders Podcast. I'm Neil Toy, your host. As always, like, share, comment, help me big tech so this guest today can get their message heard. If you haven't listened to any of the other previous podcasts, I would encourage you to go down, check it out on Apple, Spotify, podcasts, etc. Leave us a review, like, comment, snide remarks. We'll take it all because it helps the engagement. So today we are going to talk about business. We're going to talk about creating and expanding business, lead generation, product development, the lifetime value of a customer. And I thought, what better person to bring on and talk about that today than Tim? Welcome to the call, brother. Let's dig in.
Appreciate it. Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to it.
All right. So you got a breadth of experience in this. You got a deep background. I don't normally, we go for 20, 25 minutes of pure value, but give us 5 minutes of you first and then tell us why we should listen to you. And let's hear some of that wisdom I heard earlier that I know people are going to love when they get to listening to you.
Sounds good. I'll try to do it in 2 to make sure we can give as much value as
2
possible.
minutes.
So
Okay, go.
Sounds good. I was the kid in middle school who took a briefcase to school to the great dismay of my older and younger sisters. Clearly, I was always the cool kid, but really above and beyond that, I knew that I always liked the idea of being kind of in business. My dad was in the investment world, but I knew I didn't want to be kind of a small cog in a big wheel. And entrepreneurialism kind of at that time for me was just solving problems that I saw around me. And it was kind of my creative outlet from a very early age. And that took me to founding a company in college. I went to school in Washington, D.C. And as a college kid, we started a late night snack delivery business because in DC, there was nothing open late night. So we created the solution that we were also our primary customer, which is actually a great way to start a business.
Late night snacks. Yeah,
exactly.
That's cool. I love that.
Yeah. And then from there, I knew I wanted to go into finance, but I didn't want to be in a big bank. Spent a short time working in a retail brokerage organization, but then moved into finance through hedge funds. And I wanted to raise money and do storytelling. And in my early 20s, I was able to raise over $300 million before the age of 25, simply on the idea of bridging the gap between people's needs around returns and a safe place to put their money and for appreciation and capital preservation, and the way that we saw the world as far as kind of portfolio management and things like that. So made a market call in December of 2007 that the world was going to get ugly and fast. And we were a little early, but we were proven right with the 2008 stock market crash about 9 months later. Took my leave, moved into technology and fitness. My wife and I were both Division I athletes in college. Got into technology kind of before Fitbit and Peloton and all these other concepts that are out now. Did that for about a decade, and that introduced me to a company called Gym Launch, which is founded by a husband and wife team, Alex and Layla Hormozi, who a lot of folks now know for acquisition.com and the $100 million leads and all the other things that they've been up to. So long story short, I've done a lot of things, put my money where my mouth is, have all the battle scars to show for it, and appreciate the opportunity to hopefully save somebody a little bit of that heartache along the way.
Yeah, dude, that is fantastic, man. What a resume. So 300 million by the age of 25 is no small feat. Yeah. How much time, energy, and effort did it take you to develop that?
So I think I had a huge dose of naivete at the time because it was kind of one of those, nobody told me I couldn't, so I just went ahead and did it kind of things. And it was, quite frankly, just one step in front of the other. I was single. I crisscrossed the country, talked to investors. And the thing that it proved out for me was to understand who we were, what our unique selling proposition was in the context of a very established, you think about the investing community. Yep. It's as like the old school, been there, done that kind of industry out there. And this is the way things work. A young kid in his 20s shouldn't be able to do kind of what I did, but it was one of those understanding the audience, understanding marketing and the messaging and the positioning, and then having a quality product to back it up. So yeah,
proves that the right person at the right time and the right place makes all the difference. Again, who you know, say this a lot, and then what you know keeps you there, right? Yeah. So obviously you were learning on the fly. You had some people around you clearly to help you gain that knowledge, which is amazing. Yeah. But it led you into online, into marketing and development. How'd you get introduced to Alex?
So I was running a multi-unit gym chain. We were part of a franchise. I was a franchisee for quite a while. And then in 2018, I ended up buying the parent company, and it sits in a portfolio that I hold to today. And the crux of it was we had great technology, but we needed a better business model. And I had been introduced to Jim Launch and the programming as a customer. And when I bought this franchise, I quite frankly liked his model better than the one that we were running. And so I cold emailed him and said, hey, you don't know me, but I just bought this franchise. We have great technology, and I'm going to give them a new business model. And by the way, I am going to tell them to do what you've already told me to do, that I found success. And I don't want to rip you off. So instead of taking your IP and calling it mine, can we do some kind of joint venture? And that's what we did. So I have a recording still to this day of Alex and I walking through our licensees at the time with this kind of new business model. And I think he appreciated that. I then went and became a top seller for Prestige Labs, which was the Jim Launch kind of supplement brand. Won a trip to come meet him in person, and the rest was history. He and I hit it off, and a couple months later, he said, do you want to join the team? We're kind of taking off like a rocket ship, and we need someone like you to help us along the way. And so I was able to join Alex and Layla and our CFO as the 4-person executive team that grew that and exited it about 2 years ago.
Congrats. That's fantastic, dude. What a story, man. You've heard a lot of life. You don't look 25.
I appreciate that.
Have you? I suppose you're not 25 anymore, but we won't tell anybody.
We'll call it that.
But we'll leave it at 25. So, man, what an experience and what a ride. But where did that leave you? So obviously you have a portfolio. You mentioned you still have some of the businesses you owned in the past. You've moved kind of to another stage in life. Where are you currently focused now in business or helping?
Yeah, my view is I have always, and I think this kind of ties back to why I didn't want to go into the big bank kind of concept or construct, which was, I definitely skew much more, and maybe it's because I've been an entrepreneur for so long. I know the pains and the emotional toll that it can take, like trying to bring something to market. And I think I just have a soft spot for entrepreneurs and people who are, to use the man in the arena analogy, willing to voluntarily step onto the field of play and take the hits that inevitably will come. And so I kind of set out now in this stage of my career to say, I've done a bunch of things. I've got a bunch of experience and that I can bring to bear with the next round of entrepreneurs. And instead of doing straight consulting where our interests are not aligned, I believe I've set up a kind of a collaborative environment where I have always succeeded and excelled in being the number 2 guy. I was the number 2 to Alex. I was the number 2 to another billionaire. Before that, it's things like that. So I've always kind of liked that position and the creative element of trying to bring something like that. So I have created my own little kind of private equity fund where I invest time, effort, resources, network, experience, et cetera, into service-based businesses, generally under $3 million a year in revenue. And I help grow the business and all for participation. So I'll take a small piece of the company. If it's successful, my piece becomes worth something. If it's not, you get free advice. But I always very much put my money where my mouth is. And my vision going forward is to be able to align myself with a sufficient number of entrepreneurs where we can influence $100 million in revenue a year or more in the next 5 years.
Well, you borrowed from, and not negatively, but I think you also helped coin the phrase as well as helped with the book, and you helped with the marketing and helped with everything. So I give you the credit for the activities and things that you've done, but you basically got an irresistible offer. You come into a business, you help them format their framework and get them to scale, and then you earn a piece of interest in the company. And once it's up and running, that becomes a basic passive income revenue stream for you by leveraging, which is basically an irresistible offer. Am I missing it?
That's the point is, as those that are familiar with the line, make an offer so good that they're stupid to say no. And really it comes down to finding the right situations where I can immediately deliver value. And I'm fortunate enough to be in a position now where I get enough kind of deal flow, if you will, to be able to see things that really do suit who I am and what I've been able to do and where I can be impactful.
Now, what kind of businesses are those today that you're most interested in? We talked a little bit about e-com, and you're in the consulting side of the world. Is there somewhere you do play and other places you don't play?
Yeah. So I focus primarily on things with a subscription or a membership. So if you have it or you want to embed it in your business, that is my sweet spot, because I fundamentally believe that the hardest thing for us to do is to acquire the customer. After that, we can figure out lots of ways to deliver value and different problems to solve. And so I just fundamentally, I like the idea of let's get a customer. You make a sale to get a customer, not a customer to make a sale. And then we can go and find problems for them to solve kind of sequentially down the line. So membership businesses, subscription businesses, anything generally service related, because we can be very agile with how we do offers and how we can build the business. I stay away from manufacturing anything that requires the kind of huge capital intensity is really not my wheelhouse. I don't like making $20 million bets on the hope that it'll work. I also don't do supply chain and things like that, but anything that is primarily service driven is very much in my wheelhouse. Yeah.
So SaaS consultant,
SaaS consulting, B2B service, B2C service, and I work with some
existing e-com or something.
Yeah. I've got technology and real estate. I've got somebody who's doing some work in that space. I've got a marketing company that's doing podcast distribution technology and service. So anything that is kind of service, has a core service component to it with recurring revenue is right in my wheelhouse. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you invest in what you know, or you invest in the knowing, as they say, right?
That's exactly right.
So
that's exactly right.
Yeah, you invest in what you know. Well, and it's a breadth of experience. You can talk to many areas. What are you most passionate about? Like, is it family, or are you running? Do you love golfing? Is it business? Like, where do you find your most passionate conversations?
Yeah, so I'll kind of answer it. Professionally, what I love doing is using product to differentiate a business from its competitors and create additional value. So I believe that under about $5 million a year in revenue, product matters almost more than anything else, because we can use that as a leverage point or a hinge on which we can move some pretty big doors. Personally, I'm a husband. I have 3 kids, kind of 10 to 14 years old. So they're in those formative years where I love to spend time with them. But above and beyond that, I am a massive Formula One fan. So as of the day we're recording this, Formula One is in Las Vegas. This Saturday, they're going down the Vegas Strip at 200 kilometers an hour. So it's an exciting time to be a car fan. But I love running, and my wife's a triathlete, so I work out with her, and I love to get on the golf course when I can, by all means.
Excellent, dude. That's a good resume, and that's very cool. I didn't realize you were into car racing. How
huge.
Cool.
Yeah, big fan.
What is that, a family thing? Did you get into it at some point on your own, or? I always loved cars growing up. It was a way for my dad and I to kind of connect. It was a kind of a mutual thing. But then from there, I've been able to drive some pretty cool cars and be able to race and do some other things like that. And so I think there you go.
Maybe I'm an adrenaline junkie to some extent. I don't like, jumping out of
planes. A little bit,
yeah. And I did make a deal with my wife that it has to have 4 wheels. The second I get on a motorcycle, I have a great fear that I will probably go past the line, because it's very easy to do. But as long as it's got 4 wheels, it's in play.
We kind of have that same one, except for my wife. I've always wanted to go back and finish what I started with, the pilot license.
Okay.
And the agreement was, as the girls get older and once they're a little more mature and all that's kind of taken care of, then go be a pilot, go get your license, go finish that as the girls just get a little older. So we're getting closer to meeting that criteria, that compromise. Because for me, it wasn't motorcycles, it's airplanes. So at some point we'll go back. Maybe I'm an adrenaline junkie too. We'll see. I don't know. Well, hopefully I'll get it done, because I would love to be able to go fly and leave whenever I want to go and travel around. And there's benefits to that, of course. But F1 formula, that's fantastic. Yeah. So you are a guy that likes to go fast. So slow business doesn't make sense to you, which I appreciate. Just saw some of the most recent updates for this quarter this year in terms of business acquisitions and averages across SDE and acquisitions and M&A and everything else. And then basically we find that Amazon is up, which is cool. E-commerce is up, which is cool. And to the service and SaaS side, to your background and point, a multi-channel e-com company with subscriptions based on it is now up to 6 to 8x in terms of X evaluation. So you seeing the same thing in your experience?
Yeah, I'm in the risk reduction business primarily as it relates to packaging some of these companies. And I know manufacturing well enough. It's like having the backlog, right? It just gives any acquirer some visibility into what the future can look like. And when we have subscriptions and we have a very stable churn or retention metric, that allows us to be able to have a very substantive conversation around kind of what is the financing structure around the deal, because we have some forethought, some insight into what the next kind of 12 to 24 months looks like, instead of just obviously, being able to be subject to the one-off sales where you're always needing to kind of sell to make that deal work. So I'm seeing very much the same thing, and a lot of some money chasing interesting deals.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's been a change. There's been a dip. We noticed the last few years, obviously, with COVID and the bump that occurred for e-com has kind of come back down and leveled off. There was too much acquisitions at too high prices previously. And now we're seeing quite a few new businesses enter in the market with more reasonable price points and more reasonable asks. So I'm interested to see that you have the same kind of perspective on it as well, because the opportunity to build something is always there, and obviously to sell it is always there. So for those who are listening, brand new, maybe wanting to get an e-com business, SaaS, software, et cetera, or somebody who's stepping into that entrepreneurial ring, as you said earlier, what would you tell them? And then what would you tell the people right behind them who were already in the fight? What would you want them to know if they're listening today?
Yeah, for anyone who's considering kind of getting into the game, if you will, is start selling before you think you should. Sell immediately. The second you have an idea and you have a potential customer, the main metric that matters in the beginning is the number of offers made. I'll say it again. The only metric that matters in the beginning is the number of offers that you make, because you will find product market fit faster and you will avoid the foreseeable mistake of building it and hoping they will come, which is what effectively undermines the potential success of just about every failed company out there, especially in the beginning. Those kind of fail to launch type situations.
Yeah.
For anyone who's already in the market, survey your customers, be super diligent about the product that you're putting on the field, specifically around churn and pricing. I think there's a lot more price elasticity than a lot of people give credit for. And that can both be within the existing product mix, as well as understanding what other kind of ancillary products or services that you can offer to help boost that LTV. I think if you've got existing customers, treat them like they're the last customer you will ever acquire. And then ask yourself, what needs to be true for them to never leave and for them to bring the next 5, 10, 20, 100,000 customers down the line. Don't worry about scale. In the earlier time, you will figure that out. I think so many people get caught with, I can't over deliver because I can't do this for 1,000 people. You have no revenue. So do it now, and then you'll figure it out along the way. Don't put the cart before the horse.
100%. Well, my mentor always beat into my head, and I tell everybody who will listen, sales fixes everything.
It does.
Sales fixes everything.
Gives you options,
right?
for sure.
I mean, sell with integrity. Yeah. Don't sell like a used car salesman. That's not what we're talking about here. Yeah. Sell with integrity and sell something you can deliver and produce with results, product, service, or otherwise. But yeah, sales fixes everything. You got to know if there's somebody to buy it out there. And there's such a limiting belief that people will want to buy what you have and that they're willing to buy it at higher prices. I constantly have this conversation. I had one earlier that it's like, well, there's another product, but it sells for half my price. Okay. Do they provide half your value? Are you providing twice their value? And if the answer is yes, then you should sell it at the price point the market will bear, because whatever the price will bear, the market will bear. You can sell it at what it's the value of the worth of the person who's buying it, the solution. So it's always a limiting belief, because you're like, well, I don't think they're going to buy it for more money. And it's like, well, no, they're not buying the product. They're buying the outcome.
Correct.
They're buying the results. You have to reframe that. Is there a way that you speak to people in that kind of tonality or a phrasing, or is it a different language you use, or is that kind of the same language?
Yeah, absolutely. And the 2 points I would make is, so often I see folks trying to do the one size fits all solution. So to your point, they won't pay more. It's like they might not pay more for the same thing you're offering right now. But again, what needs to be true for them to pay 10 times what they're paying right now? There is a world where someone will pay you for that. Just the product stack has to change. You can do the reverse as well. So you're probably overpriced for the bottom part of your market, and you're probably underpriced for the top part of your market. So understanding kind of the 3 to 5 client avatars that you have is super important, because you need to tailor something to each of those. The second point I would make is I have a framework, which I call it basically the rapid product expander. And the idea is there are 6 ways that we can create product. 3 of them are digital and 3 of them are physical. And it's basically product, service, and access. So I'll give you an example. During my gym launch time, I ran a software product inside of the gym launch umbrella, and we worked with marketing companies. And one of them worked with a mattress store. And we were talking about building recurring revenue in a mattress store. And they're like, how the heck do I do that? I just sell mattresses. It's like, you don't sell mattresses. To your point of a second ago, the outcome you're actually solving for is better sleep. Yes. Okay. So if you were delivering better sleep, what else can you include, or what else needs to be considered in that package? It's the pillow, it's the sheets, it's the spray on the scent, all of those types of things. And we ended up building a basket of goods and services around a single kind of larger purchase. So they had a physical product they were selling, but then we sold other physical products. We also sold the recurring revenue of recurring sprays and sheets and things like that. The access was an in-store demo of how to actually choose the right pillow size, shape for you. The digital products could be ongoing drip campaigns around how to disconnect from your phone at night, how to do a better wind down process, whatever it might be. And they were blown away by the concept. So I would encourage anyone to think, it's actually a really good thought exercise, is fill in every one of those boxes. And I'm happy to, for anybody listening at the end of this, I'll give you a way to get that process, that framework, so you can do it in your business as well.
Excellent. Yeah, it's a good framework, obviously speaking from experience. which I appreciate very much. Is there anything you would tell the people who are looking for growth and scale? Somehow they've figured out their offer, they're kind of moving next. Maybe they got limiting beliefs about where their next steps are, where their next growth can come from. Obviously, you've seen it and been there. What would you tell those people?
Yeah. So a couple of things. So one is I think we underappreciate the IP that we have. So a client I'm working with right now who actually owns a B2B services business, it struck me very early on that they had their operations wired. I mean, it was dialed in. And this person is very much a process person. So I said, this is super interesting because I know people who want to get into this business. So we took all of their SOPs and all their platform and the frameworks that they built, and we stripped them out and have created basically an IP business from that people can buy as a service to get started. Think of it as the shortcut to get to launching. So I think that's one thing that I've absolutely seen, which is just trying to build confidence around what you have and not always kind of looking at the limitations on what might be lacking at this point. Because I think a lot of us have a lot more value built inside of the businesses that we build and the experience that we have, and being diligent about documenting and releasing that to the benefit of the audience.
Yeah, to the benefit of the audience is well said, because it's not always opportunistic or profiteering or where can I pull my last dollar from. It is mostly like, as you said, what is that need they need from you or can get from you, and then give them as an option, and build that lifetime value of that customer up from within your ranks, and providing a great service and good results because of it. Always operating in integrity, which sounds exactly like the kind of person you've been and the things you've done, which is very cool. And I appreciate you so much for coming on and sharing some knowledge and wisdom. You said something that they can go download or something for free we can give them here at the end?
Yes. So if you go to any of my social platforms, so Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn, it's Tim, T-I-M, Calise, C-A-L-I-S-E. Facebook and Instagram especially, DM me Voltage, and I will send you that framework that I mentioned before so that you can implement that in your business, and it has a little training video associated with it.
All right, folks. Well, get out there, get that, shoot him the keyword Voltage at any of his social media channels. Leave it down in the show notes as well. Like, comment, share, leave us a review. Go check it out on podcast. Go check it out on YouTube. Make sure you engage, ask questions. We'll be tracking that. If there are any great questions for Tim that he doesn't see, we'll make sure he gets them. And Tim, thanks for showing up, man. Thanks for sharing some knowledge and some experience. And I found some golden nuggets in here, and I sure appreciate you doing that today.
Well, I appreciate you having me on. Thank you, Neil.
Ask you this. If you're serious about building an e-commerce business starting on Amazon FBA, what if myself and my team worked with you one-on-one to execute the steps outlined in the podcast while helping you discover what the heck to sell, how to make sure it's profitable, and how to successfully launch a brand, plus how to do it under a consulting plus performance-driven model where I put a $10,000 skin in the game guarantee for those that show up and are serious about building a real business done with us? If yes, text keyword profit to +1 417 413 4209. That's 1-417-413-4209. And I will personally respond with a few simple questions. If you're not in the US or Canada, please visit voltagedm.com. That's voltagedm.com. Click Get Started and book a no-pressure discovery call with me or a member of my team to learn more about the Business Builders one-on-one coaching and mentoring for CEOs, entrepreneurs, and those looking to build an empire or retire using the power of e-commerce. Once again, thank you for listening, and be sure to tune in next week for a brand new episode of the High Voltage Business Builders podcast.